This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the solves from Harriette Suchet. We'll be covering another solve on the Melvin Belli letter, which we left off with last week from Loren Swearingen. At this point, I just wanted to kind of cover some things or some realizations that I had in the last week when I was putting together a binder on this presentation. And I'm updating it as I go, as I add research, more information, Dennis's book. There's so many things that are going into it at this point that the realization was when I started this PowerPoint presentation, or I completed it about 9-10 years ago, where we're at right now in the present time frame with the Zodiac, I was up to 491 slides. That was completely based on handwriting, putting together all of the communications I felt were involved with the Zodiac case, all of the possible murders around the country that had proximity to Jack Terrence. And at that point in time, again, 491 slides. Today, as we've inserted the research, I've updated things, I've added more information. We are now at 1,268 slides of a total of 2129, which I anticipate will continue to grow over the next year. So it tells me if we were able to go from 491 slides 10 years ago with my belief that Jack Terrence was the Zodiac Killer, and now we're up to at least 1,268, which is an addition of almost 800 slides of information that confirms, not excludes, Jack Terrence as a possible Zodiac Killer. Tells me we're on the right track. I should have at some point found something that said he could not have possibly have been, and I just have not been able to do that. So I thought I would share that with everybody. I want to welcome Terry B. and Nolan Del Campo to the show.
Hi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We've got some very, very interesting solves from Harriette today. I'm hoping that she is going to be able to get on and be here with us. I see I have another text message from her. Number is saying person is unavailable. Juan, I think she's trying to call in on that number. Hopefully she'll be able to get in.
Well, if she can do her email on her phone, she could click the link. I don't know what the problem is.
We're talking about Cat's Eye. She's dialing the number to call in onto the podcast, and it's saying person is unavailable. So I'm going to tell her to retry. All right. So let's go ahead and go into the presentation at this point. We have some shocking solves. We have some things that are going on, but I just wanted to catch everybody up because we just discussed the Melvin Belli letter this last week. So that everybody understands that Melvin Belli, the letter from the Zodiac, was also followed the actual call into a talk show radio requesting Belli or F. Lee Bailey to be present to speak to the Zodiac, though that the caller turned out to be a hoax. It is running in tandem, so maybe the Zodiac actually wrote Melvin Belli after the fact because this other person attempted to be a copycat and act as though he was the Zodiac and he needed to set that record straight. I'm not exactly sure. The solves that are coming out from this case are really indicating something much different. At this point in time, we know that Belli is the attorney for Jack Ruby, right?
Right.
In 69. No. Well,
okay.
What? Oh, so who was his attorney then?
So he had a guy by the name of Cooper, a hotshot LA lawyer, but it was in the middle of all kinds of weirdness, and he represented the mob and other things, and he did a terrible job. by the way.
Okay, I gave her that. Hold on one second. I gave her that number, and she's saying it's still not available. 561 623 9429 9429. I don't know. She keeps saying it's still not available. Gosh. All right. Well, at any rate, so we know that Belli is the attorney for Jack Ruby, who Jack Ruby killed Lee Harvey Oswald in the JFK fiasco. He's also a partner of F. Lee Bailey, which that relates to the phone call and the Zodiac requesting to speak to one of these two. I don't think that writing Belli was an afterthought by the Zodiac, but I think that everybody won in that situation because the radio show got ratings, right? The newspapers got to make millions based on the stories that they ran after the fact. And the attorneys actually are reaching more fame and fortune by every time they're recognized by the Zodiac Killer because their name gets printed one more time. So kind of wrap that up with how I'm involved is that Deborah Perez with Kevin McLean, which is a former partner of F. Lee Bailey, and he's another disbarred attorney or a former partner of F. Lee Bailey's. And then my instructor, we're all working together to write a book and a documentary, and they tried to keep me from making an identification on Jack W. Terrence Jr. At the time I made that identification, they literally came out on the steps of the Chronicle within 30 days, and she basically laid out the framework for a story of her adoptive father being her the person who committed these crimes. Basically, a lot of her statements ran tandem with the things that Dennis had said. So I think it just muddied up the water. They, threw that information out there trying to confuse people because now somebody else is saying the same thing. Their book did not come to fruition, and the documentary never happened. But it was on a false suspect to begin with, Guy Ward Hendrickson, which I completed the handwriting for. And that same instructor also worked with Tom Voight and John Walsh on the episode of America's Most Wanted about the Zodiac. Now, Tom Voight and that instructor that I had have link backs to each other's websites as well. And then the Zodiac, of course, asked for Melvin Belli or F. Lee Bailey. I was wondering if they could have been handlers, but when we look at Swearingen Solved, we see that he's indicating that the letter is actively being written to someone else. So a little bit of the other research that I had was on an individual named Moonlight. We've talked a little bit about it. They indicated that I was lying and fabricating that the van was mechanically tampered with as it pertained to Manali. I never indicated that the van had been tampered with. I said, what if? I mean, we have the Zodiac in other cases, right? He's tampering with vehicles. He has vehicle knowledge. He knows how to disable a vehicle. So I just threw that out there as maybe that was just another one of those fake accidents. And if Manali was really a killer and then he was taken out by the likes of the Zodiac, that's what reminded me of Suspect Zero. Did anybody get a chance to look up that movie?
No, not yet.
Not yet for me.
I'm going to. I just bought the DVD, and it is playing on Amazon Prime. So I rented it for $3.99 from Amazon Prime, and then I purchased the DVD because that has the special features and the 2-hour bonus reels that include the military information about that remote viewing that they were doing in order to locate different things around the world. So
I just want to clear up something in your text here where it says Belli is the attorney for Ruby. That's correct. And it says answer hand, but no. Yeah. So
no, you said that was Cooper.
Grant Cooper, LA, famous LA lawyer, who also was representing at that time Johnny Rosselli, the mobster that was eventually murdered by other mobsters or the CIA before he's supposed to testify in the House Select Committee investigation in the 70s.
Oh,
76.
There you are.
In the barrel. Yeah, 76
and then
he was down in the barrel in Tampa Bay.
F. Lee Bailey's connection with Sirhan was that in Sirhan's notebook they found the name DeSalvo. That may ring a bell. He was the convicted of being the Boston Strangler, and F. Lee Bailey represented him. And F. Lee Bailey convinced hypnotists to come in and hypnotize DeSalvo. Zodiac, there are a lot of similarities with Sirhan and DeSalvo. So anyway,
especially with that hypnotist stuff, because we know that that's something that Sirhan talked about. That's something we know that ran in the MKULTRA. All of that is at least making sense.
Wow.
All right. Well, that brings us.
That Oswald was hypnotized too.
Exactly. Yes. I think
we're all hypnotized these days.
That, you know what, they do talk about the crystallization of the pineal gland in the brain and it being really more like a raisin instead of a nice plump grape, and that is. I think it has a lot to do with mental health. I think it has a lot to do with, like you were saying, that hypnotizing. Certain frequencies crystallize that particular portion of the brain, and that is where your the God molecule comes from. Your ability to be yourself, to have the self-assurance and the confidence that you need. Like, all of these things run in tandem with this particular gland, and ours is already shut down. They said at least 40% by the time you're 17. That's scary. Yeah.
Well, they bore you to death.
Well, if you get dropped with some LSD, that'll also fry parts of your brain too.
Well,
I don't know
and
if you guys
fluoride.
can hear me or not, but I'm here.
We can. Hi there, Harriette. Welcome to the show.
I was just reading up about the LSD, MKULTRA. They're made by slipping LSD with these people, that they make their souls as one, their brains as one, and then they're going to be hypnotized.
I think that might open the brain up. So whereas we're talking about the shutting down,
it only opens up under control, though.
Right. So
anyway, sorry.
So one of the things that actually crystallizes that gland is fluoride, and they put it in our water and it's in our toothpaste. So it's no wonder if we're crystallizing that gland and that fluoride causes that crystallization. It's no wonder that at such a young age, most of the population, that part of their brain has already been crystallized. So anyways, that brings us to the first solve, which is on the Fairfield letter that came out on December 10th of 1969. And I'm going to have to eat my own words, because Harriette's solve here kind of blew me away, because you're actually in this solve talking about Elaine Davis, which I did not believe fit the MO of the Zodiac Killer, but you're saying in this solve that he is taking or accepting responsibility for having killed her, correct?
Something to that effect, and it looks like, from what I'm seeing after doing so many of these now, Elaine Davis had a dark side with Detective Ken Marlowe, and things were going on, and she was in the wrong place at the wrong time too many times. So Jack just pulled her out of the equation, and that's to say it nicely, because it's pretty disgusting what happened.
Well, and she was abducted from Walnut Creek, and then she was dumped in where was that? Lagunas?
Santa Cruz. She was tossed
Santa
over
Cruz.
the edge.
Yeah. Okay.
So like a bag of garbage. I'm sorry.
And I want to.
Go ahead.
That might actually make some sense for Sandy Betts' murder map, because there is four stars with an arrow pointing to the word Santa Cruz, indicating that there were 4 victims in Santa Cruz. So this map may indicate where they're dumped and not necessarily where they're killed, because we also have the other gal in Rodeo that, again, not on the map, but I had also excluded her. We may find that is untrue as well. Now, this particular message says, "This is the Zodiac speaking. I just need help. I will kill again, so suspect it anytime now. They will be a cop, then I will turn myself in." Okay. Now, your solve to this, basically, do you have that to read, Harriette, or do you need me to read it?
Oh yeah, it's in my books. Thank God I got my books with me.
Okay. Do you already have it open to?
Yeah. So
do you have it open to that page?
Pleasure. Yeah. I got the pleasure of reading this because I'm Catholic, but I said I will read it.
All right, go for it.
Okay, heads up, people. Okay, it says, after anagramming everything, and I identified all the symbols, if they're all the Zodiac symbols, using the Sergeant Lynch card decode, by the way. So anyways, it says, P. Nixon, me little I, C, LDS, which is Latter-day Saints. She was an LDS member.
Really?
C, TV Pig, Kenny Narlow, kiss, and here we go, bleep, 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 and I'll read it. Kiss while effing Elaine Davis with his Anstey, that's Marie Anstey, by the way, peyote buttons gel. She let him lick dildo when in Northeast Lower Lake Jeep Trail, my town, by the way, and it's signed Zodiac. So he's very upset at what's happening, and I have the decoded evidence, but I don't know if you're interested in that. It's pretty disgusting. Would you like for me to read that?
Sure, why not?
I don't know what you... Did I not receive that already?
I decoded. Well, anyway, so we'll just stick with this decode because that's pretty disgusting, and the evidence section is worse. He just basically is just followed. He's saying that he followed Ken Narlow because they're trying to do something about all the drugs and Sam Giancana and Hoffa, and that we've covered that so many times now. So it's 1969. He's here in Lower Lake spying on these people, trying to do something. His job, if you can call, being the hitman for the government a job, but that's what he's doing. And so he's thinking, from what I understand, he's following whatever's going on with Detective Ken Narlow after the Zodiac cases, things that happened. He's following her. He's following him to Walnut Creek. That's what he's saying, and that he sees some events happening at the house there, and Detective Narlow leaves, and then Jack is just going in and grabbing her, and then she's high on peyote, and anyways, just dumpster, Santa Cruz Lighthouse Park area off the cliff. It was 6, yeah. And
one of the things that never seems to shock
for 20 years.
Right, it was because they had the age of the victim wrong, so they never put the two together. And it never seems to amaze me that these messages that you're coming up with are running in tandem and time with the actual events that are occurring around it. So again, I indicated that I didn't believe Elaine Davis was a Zodiac victim, but now this message is yielding that in fact she was.
Well, let's just put it another way. She wasn't an intended victim, like an execute order, like Donna Lass that we're seeing, and Darlene Farron, and that wasn't on the little list. But
maybe he was doing it to set Narlow up. Whatever happened to Narlow?
I think he was trying to. Well, he ended up being the hero in the movies. I mean, the Zodiac movies. And I bought it. I bought it hook, line, and sinker. So did Dennis. So did a lot of us. But I'm seeing it many times throughout the 70s that Detective Narlow had, I would say, a devil by night side, but an angel by day side. So pretty bad.
So we'll bring more of those, evidently.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move on to the Sacramento Bee. This is the December 10th. Okay, so I had my dates wrong. That last letter was
I have that too somewhere. Keep reading.
Great. Yeah, find that. So this letter that referred to Elaine Davis was mailed on 12/7 of 69. The next letter was mailed December 10th of 1969, and it is the Sacramento. It's mailed in a business envelope to the Sacramento Bee, and it contained the let's see. It contained the November horoscope or the October horoscope that was inside. So do you have that one up?
I'm looking for it, but to give I think even Nolan, he's there too, right? He would understand that, okay, let's say you mail these a day apart. It's going to take weeks for them to show up at the editor's, or wherever desk. So it's going to be looking, he is saying, see my last reply, but I think he knew the system. So it was going to be a while before they saw that. So they're going to have the two letters there, and seeing it, a couple of weeks later. But
did you find that solved?
I'm looking for it.
I have it up.
I don't have it immediately.
Okay.
Let's just read it.
Right. So it says Sacramento Bee 121069 envelope anagram decode. Please see my last cipher last reply cancer horoscope. MIIID. You got a bunch of acronyms in here, so there's no way I know how to read this.
Well, I think if I remember correctly, it's a lot of military acronyms. So let's see if I can pull this out. Which one is this?
MIIDACE SF 2550-C-TE. Here, RN Donna Lass is Mistress Capo Sam Giacana. IBTUGM International Brotherhood Teamsters Union General Manager Hoffa sent 999 IO to 00184. Dialed out of the USA to Vietnam, SF San Francisco Special Forces 255th ET or Equipment Transport. Inter alias spy, log by CIA, present American interest Southeast Asia. Marilyn Monroe, secret baby, 3767, and is to die after Red Fox cappuccino coffee and toast Bloomfield, Township, Michigan. Note, Michigan is I in Italian, A is in, CE is here, and the cutouts are the reply. So that's what he's saying. See my last reply, which is then going to be the cutouts, correct?
I believe so. I think that's the next message.
Yes, and that one says
the next message.
So can you make any sense out of the SF 2550 or any of the other information that I just read off?
It's basically in a matter of simple words, according to Jack and his crew and our government, Hoffa betrayed the United States and gave information on our CIA interests. So there was many reasons why they were feeling Hoffa had to go, that he was giving information to other people that our CIA interests were supposed to be kept secret. But Hoffa that's what Hoffa apparently was doing, was sending information to people in Vietnam about our people.
And what does the Red Fox cappuccino coffee and toast Bloomfield have to do with things?
Yes. He apparently was a creature of habit and loved the coffee that came from that area that became the Red Fox restaurant. And he's going to be, he's supposed to die there or be picked up and die afterwards. And he was last seen at the Red Fox restaurant, 1975.
Gotcha.
So he's
all right. So
he was a creature of habit. So was Giancana. They in town. They went to the same places, so they knew he was going to be there.
So then, once you used the cutouts and you anagrammed the cutouts, you came up with my TI, which is I, SF 2550 CTE rat ID Costanza. F for your information, dog Giancana mouth to chew my certified firearms instructor gun. I guided to mouth 6 bullet sandwich. Or I guess, and what is the SF 2550 CTE again?
That's the identification. Apparently, Jack was able to identify this secret informant in the San Francisco Bay Area who was linked to Giancana. So he's trying to, he's mocking in a way, as usual, let Giancana know that there's going to be a gun and he's going to eat my bullets. And that's how they found Giancana. They found him with 6 bullets in his mouth, 6 bullet holes.
Wow. So in this rat ID Salvatore Costanza, who is Salvatore Costanza?
He's some informant that has to do with, oh my God, I found his name somewhere else in another JFK files. So he's an informant, but Jack is not happy with him. He considers him a rat.
Gotcha. All right, so that brings
people know that they got him ID'd.
Read that last whole message before he left that, will you?
my identified SF 2550 CTE rat ID Salvatore Costanza. FYI, dog Giancana to chew my certified firearms instructor gun I guided to mouth 6-bullet sandwich.
What about the next thing there? What's that?
So Salvatore Costanza was a San Francisco region informant who spoke good English and Italian. The SF 2550 CTE ID has been linked to Costanza via 1990s JFK assassination files. Jack Terrence IDs him here in 1969 in the SACB cutout letters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is before we officially got the information through the JFK files releases on this guy.
Wow.
So Jack is saying we got you
ahead of time.
Do the files confirm some of this then?
That's what evidently that's what she's saying.
The FOIA files?
Yeah, he's in the JFK files somewhere.
Oh,
he was an informant.
Okay.
Well, that brings us to the December 11th solve, and that is the forecast for Leo in November. And it says IO65MO film camera capture 9/11 pictures when RAC, John McCain. What's RAC?
That's the reserve. I'm sorry, the admiral. He's the admiral commander. He's the regional admiral commander. Oh my God, it's military, but he's the commander. He's for the commander of the Navy.
Gotcha.
And he's
so
he's a very top, he's a top level, high level guy.
Well, we all know who John McCain is, right?
Yeah, nobody knew who he was then, and they were trying to apparently keep it from the enemy, so they were moving some unfortunate pictures of what happened with the USS Forrestal. There was an accident. Lots of people said that at the time McCain might have been responsible for it. They're saying that he was responsible for it, but they were trying to hide those pictures and move them. Not microfilm.
The story was he was screwing around with his jet and it started a fire, right? He was playing games with it or something, supposedly.
Oh.
John McCain was?
From what John McCain was getting into his flight machine and accidentally hit the button, which fired a shot, which did a series of events, and that's where Harriette comes in play. It starts this horrific fire. About 160 people die.
Yeah,
oh wow!
And 3 months, 3 months later, he's caught as a POW.
So John McCain, 30-year-old Scion boy pilot, lied. Not sorry for gunpoint confession made. His Skyhawk A4 cannon hit FB Phantom 2 Air Wayne Harry Ott among 161 die USS Forrestal Fit Deck Fire Gulf of Tonkin, Vietnam, i.e. Republican Admiral RN. Is that Richard Nixon?
Yep, that's Richard Nixon's rear admiral guy. I mean, really high level guy.
Republican Admiral Richard Nixon, 19. What's that?
Keep going. Sorry.
I said, you have
John McCain Sr., who's a very high level guy in the Pacific. So
Republican Admiral RN 1969 order any IBM MTS M time gone. What's IBM MTS?
Oh, that's the IBM, the computer system. They're apparently going to make copies of this incident because the planes are circling above its military operations. In order to do this, they're always taking pictures at the time. And so they got these pictures of the incident. So they're getting copies of that, and then they're going to erase the originals, but save the copies and put them somewhere. They're probably in Nixon's files somewhere.
Right.
That's what they're doing. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so Examiner Greengrocer Carcione editor send a CC of FB spent shell to P. Nixon. What does that mean?
Yeah. Apparently, Greengrocer, Joe Carcione, who was syndicated, was a very impressive military patriot. And he's suggesting that he moves these things along. to be his American patriotic self and move him along. So
Gotcha.
you're going to see references to in future decodes just once or twice to bring Rocher. He was a patriot.
He says Carcione was a syndicated columnist and looks like JT is relaying orders from Nixon to send CC or carbon copies of the pictures of the spent shell involved to President Nixon.
Well, Nixon wasn't president at the time of the Gulf of Tonkin.
What's that?
McCain was very likely brainwashed by the communists.
Gulf of Tonkin, I think, was 1967, and Nixon wasn't president yet. And he wasn't anything at that point. He ceased being vice president in 1960. And he ran for different offices. But he was out of office in 1967. But that doesn't mean he still didn't have CIA connections and military.
Right.
Hold up. Go ahead.
This is
Harriette.
happening. They found. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I was asking you to go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that they realize that because now they have a very high level POW in the enemy's hands. They're realizing that there's these pictures, and they're just trying to get them now under Nixon to erase the originals in the computer so the enemies don't find it. Because and that's what they're doing. They're just moving these out of harm's way, so to speak. Because
so in 1969,
at the time got a hold of this, it would have been really bad.
So in 1969, as Nolan said, Nixon's not president anymore, though I think he would probably still retain.
In 1967,
he wasn't president in 1967. But in 1969, he's the president. So he's moving. He's getting these out of the hands of the enemies. Any
so where did 1967 come up? That's when Gulf of Tonkin was?
Yes. And Gulf of Tonkin was a staged incident by the United States military and the CIA to make it look like the Vietnamese attacked the Americans when really it was staged to fool the American public and get public support behind escalating the Vietnam War.
Wow, that's pretty much no different than
that's the
LBJ.
media view.
Yeah.
That kind of sounds no different than the Cuba incident where Hearst said, "If you get me the pictures, I'll make the war happen." Right? Like they just are creating.
Yeah.
A lot of wars started for flaky reasons.
Right.
Nothing. Who knows? Some of that stuff.
Well, that brings us to the bleeding knife letter. And I didn't bring this up last week, but when I was talking about it, but as I was settling in and reading a little bit more, I stumbled across the word San Jose and that he was going to kill one victim. And when I saw that J down there, Terry, I was like, look at that J. That's Jack's J. Hold on. I got to go find me some J's, right? So I pulled up all of the Zodiac's J's. And of course, his ruse was to use that top crossbar. But then we seen that he eventually used J's without any top crossbars, and they were extremely similar to Jack's. But look at Jack's actual J's in reference to the J on that bleeding knife letter. So here I was this whole time trying to prove that these are Zodiac letters while I'm trying to prove that Jack is the Zodiac, when really that cross connection there between the identical formed letter J's tells me that I am on track. We're dealing with the right person, and I do believe that these letters were written by Zodiac Jack.
You're talking about the F that's integrating the J and the F.
No, I'm talking about just this letter J. I'm just referring to.
There's no letter J on the bleeding knife message. No plain text J.
Yes, there is. It's right there in San Jose.
Yep. You're looking somewhere else. Where are you looking?
I'm right here where it says San Jose.
I'm sorry.
San Jose. So there's that J.
I look at those ones on the bleeding light knife as being also having that same bottom to them. You know what I'm saying? The FJ connections that we talked about, the monogram of Jack. Right. Yes. No, I'm over here on the right-hand side, and where he wrote San Jose would be one victim, I found this, I saw that J, and I knew instinctively I was looking at Jack's handwriting. But like I said, my whole motivation for showing this was to support that I've been trying to make the connection or show that Jack is the handwriting or the author of these, and now we're trying to show that
that the bleeding knife from Fairfield is in fact written by the Zodiac, and we have that cross connection now showing that Jack's writing is actually in here. So
who
that
is
was it.
supposed to be?
Oh yeah,
who's,
definitely.
who's supposed to have been the San Jose victim? Do we know?
I would have to look up on the murder map for Bets behind me and see if I have it marked down.
Get it later. Not
Oh,
worry.
it's some teenagers allegedly. I'm trying to remember what they were, but there was supposed to be some outlying connection. So he's but I loved redoing that one for you, Nanette.
Okay.
It says so much. Short and
Right.
but I don't have it with me, so you're gonna have to read it. It's short and to the point. He's saying who's behind and why they killed JFK, Bobby K, and MLK.
Oh, did I not get that one in here? I'm. Oh no, that can't be right. Hold on, let me look it up. Yeah, because this is the state is in trouble letter, and that should have been followed by your solve. So let me just look at it real quick.
I wonder if I can pick it up on my phone at the same time. Let me see. I'm going to put you on loudspeaker, and let's see if I can get this on my phone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm going to, oh my God. I'm probably going to mess things up. Hold on a second. Let's see.
Get it
Right, I think you might have sent it to me by email.
Oh, I think I have it though. Hold on a second. I got this. Ah, there we go. No, not this one. Okay. No, I have it though. Okay, I'm going to read it. You want me to read it?
Go ahead. Just read it.
Because I have it.
Just read it. Just we're running out of time, so just read it.
I'm trying to read it now. Hold on a second. Okay, it comes out as President Nixon, I.O., documents in order, Tattletale, ex-wife Doris Reynolds, son Danny, licked 19 stabs for planned mail in parentheses. I do EO, which execute orders, Faraday, Jensen, Darlene, Farron, Shepard, pause, you better print, etc. Examiner, Chronicle, Vallejo Times, Herald, and then it goes on to say IO, that's the documents in order, and then it's method of operation, MO. 3, Carlos Marcello, New Orleans, Louisiana, Mafia Goons. KKK Wizard, Louis Beam, Fat Cat, IBTU Hoffa, Chicago, Illinois, Mount, there he goes with Mount again, Giancana, with Clint sold out the American people Hill, plot JFK limo attack, and 68 Negro MLK, and AGK, which is Attorney General Kennedy, kill. So he's saying, therefore, Momo, Giancana, and asshole fool Hoffa to get it, paste 38 bullets in mouth, World War II bet Z, which means it's Zodiac. So did you hear me okay?
Yep.
I did. So basically,
Okay.
Doris Reynolds, so everybody's caught up on this. Jack Terrence has just recently left Doris Reynolds, or she's left him, should I say, in late 68. Her son, Danny Reynolds, we have some information that supports he continued to hang out with Jack and work with Jack at least up until the early 70s, which we'll talk about as that comes. But so you're saying that he was the person who licked the stamps for the first, you said 19 letters?
19
or 19 stamps. Sorry.
So
Okay.
that means it would be still 19 pieces of mail. So
well, because he was probably putting
20.
Well, he was putting 2 to 6 stamps on each envelope. So who knows which 19 that was?
Any relationship to 19th Nervous Breakdown by the Rolling Stones?
Oh,
I have no idea. I have no idea.
That's a song.
All right.
Famous song by the Rolling Stones.
We know
I have
Danny
a correction
Reynolds.
to make. I have a
Yes.
correction.
We know
Earlier,
that there was
we
DNA coming
misspoke.
back for Danny Reynolds in 2000.
Okay. Earlier on Gulf
Sorry
of
about
Tonkin, that actually occurred in 64.
Right.
Tonkin did?
Early.
Yeah, 64.
That was earlier.
So the incident happened or occurred. Well, at least it hasn't not happened yet. I mean, if he's telling, he's being the tattletale, he's being this is the reason or the purpose of.
Giving you a prequel.
It happened less than a year after the assassination of JFK.
Report.
Gotcha.
August of 64.
Well, that brings us to the Melvin Belli letter. And that one says,
"Dear," loaded for bear.
Right. Dear Melvin, this is the Zodiac speaking. I wish you a happy Christmas. The one thing I ask of you is this. Please help me. I cannot reach out for help because of this thing in me won't let me. I am finding it extremely difficult to hold it in check. I am afraid I will lose control and take my 9th and possibly 10th victim. Please help me. I am drowning. At the moment, the children are safe from the bomb because it is so massive to dig in, and the trigger mech requires much work to get it adjusted just right. But if I hold back too long from number 9, I will lose all control of myself and set the bomb up. Please help me. I cannot remain in control for much longer. It's always struck me that this message really wasn't a message because it's awkward. The communications seem to be incoherent. He's making statements that aren't necessarily, I don't know, I think statements that need to be made, and in such a weird language, almost as if not, putting those letters or those words together in a way that helps us to make any sense out of them, which kind of does lend to the fact that he is creating other messages. So he has to use things that don't necessarily make any sense to us in order to complete that message or that secondary message.
Well, note how the words he spelled correctly and then spelled them the same word incorrectly, and
I think that's for you to pay attention to take a look at it. I mean, he wants there's something there.
Absolutely, absolutely, that's what he was doing. Yeah, absolutely. It was, and this one's loaded for bear with those sort of devices.
Right.
It really has a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. I did kind of jot down. So I made a slide in regards to how many were misspelled, how many were correctly spelled. Right. Yeah, one of the things that I like to point out about this particular letter is he talks about drowning, and that is a cross connection to the suicide by walking off into the waves of the ocean in 1947 with the Black Dahlia, Sorry Mary letter. And then he also puts forth the poem, the suicide poem, the Titwillow poem, which is still Suicides by Billowy Grave, which is again reference to waves and water. He claims he wants to take his 9th and 10th victim. Please help me. I am not in control. These are all Lipstick Killer. I mean, Black Dahlia, please get me. I cannot control myself. I mean, we can just beat these words to death, but they're found in every communication that we have. And this letter also included a piece. This also included the third piece of Paul Stein. Harry, hold on. I want to move on from this. It also included the third piece of Paul Stein's shirt. So I was right when I was looking at Paul Stein's shirt way back when and indicating it looked like more was taken. And now we have that third piece that has been included in a letter.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Go ahead, Harriette.
Good work.
Oh, I was just supporting what you were saying. He's trying to really hint that I'm the guy that was working under Harry Truman and Nixon era in the 1940s by dropping all those hints. So you'll know you're supposed to have
the same person,
the subject matter. And so then to try to use the code system that goes way, way back. So that's just what I'm saying. I'm as what some people would say, validating you.
Well, we're going to start with Swearingen solved just before we get to yours, but Swearingen figured after discussing with Harriette and I about who Jack was, where he'd been, what he was up to, the systems that he used, that he was going to employ a anagram system on the Melvin Belli letter, but he found that the only anagram was literally in the heading Dear Melvin. And when he anagrammed Dear Melvin out, it says Ira Feldman, which he then
proposes that it means Ira Feldman, which Ira Ike Feldman was one of the CIA MKUltra handlers with George White. And that's what he discovered in this solve. Ooh, we're down to 5 minutes. Let's see how fast we can get through this, or I might have
would
to
have
continue.
been a European pronunciation of the name, probably.
Right. So basically, he said, then when you double anagram Dear Melvin, so you use Dear Melvin twice, Dear Melvin, you anagram that out, and you come up with Dare read my 11 even letter margins. Now you can see the yellow spots here on his paper. He's taken these words out of these yellow spots, which are actually the words right here, am not safe, and then he anagrammed it. So of course, these are not in the order in which they're taken, but he came up with, I am not safe from iCult and the trigger if control cannot help me at this time, at this again, because wish much work this Christmas. Now, I found that interesting because the Melvin Belli follows the Fairfield letters. When I actually decoded using the Sergeant Lynch key code and the Hardin solve on one of the Fairfield letters, I came up with one word that was readable, which was die. And then when you look right here in this section, it says basically, I need a lot of work. I mean, the letters are there. So if you were to anagram that particular portion out, that is actually consistent with what Swearingen is stating has come about in this particular solve. So he has this as this letter is going to Ira Feldman, and that he's not safe from iCult or the MKUltra, or maybe even the individuals who are involved. If he's not doing work for him, then he's a liability, and he feels that his life could be taken. So he's saying if the control or MKUltra cannot help him, that he needs work this Christmas because he's afraid he's going to catch a bullet himself. The FBI shows the use. I want to just confirm that the FBI shows the use of anagrams, substitution ciphers, transposition ciphers, first and last words of sentences. So this fits right in with the FBI and what they found already in the Zodiac stuff. Just to kind of bring that back to more of a resolution with the original last 18 letters of the 408 from the Hardin solve that were not solved by the Hardins. We see that Swearingen also indicates Ira et White, I've quit MKUltra once again. So now we have two messages that are decoding out that include Ira Feldman and George White and MKUltra. He does say it's time, parite obite, which was be afraid, perish, die. And then he even identifies himself, Jack W, in order to, and that's a phrase you find a lot, right, Harriette? In order, I-O. Those kind of things. MKUltra, I have quit the RX or the meds. It's okay with me, he says. So MKUltra is shut down in 1967, and it's my contention that Jack has been left out to dry. He wants to stay safe and he needs work. I think in 1968 with the Dear Draft Board letters, he's probably coming off of these drugs and medications, and that's what these letters in the Dear Draft Board were about. And by the 70s, he's taking things into his own hands and hitting every major newspaper he can from here on out with his kills. That brings us to your solve, and we've got literally 2 minutes, Harriette. So your solve on the Belli letter, do you want me to read that, or do you have it right now?
You're going to have to read it because my phone's now my phone's acting straight. So go for it.
It says, this is a very early work of decoding by me. It goes with the markings of where the odd punctuation, misspelt words, but also where the code symbols and code keys match up, plus the top half of the 24th line that includes the cross circle shape. So you're using the Sergeant Lynch card message using the 340 grill cipher over the top of this, and you're notating all of those areas. I've got 1 minute here. And your solve on this is my name from the Belli letter. Your solve is my name is Jay Terrence, last met IBTM Hoffa. So DF can kill Bobby Kennedy with her time card. DF is Darlene Farron. Lass is Donna Lass. IBTM is the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. Union General Manager Jimmy Hoffa. Of course, J is Jack. So it says, Mel Belli, my name is Jack Terrence. Donna Lass met Jimmy Hoffa so Darlene Farron can kill Bobby Kennedy with the use of a registered nurse last time card. Woo! I got that all out.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. So we've got less than a minute here. If anybody has any comments on this.
It worked out as a perfect anagram,
I got some comments
Yes.
on George Henry White.
Go ahead.
He started out in New York. He was as early as the 50s. He was involved in the mind control experiments, and they had these safe houses in New York. And then the 60s,
we already covered that.
Moved to San Francisco and continued to experiment using LSD, mind control, hypnosis, all kinds of stuff.
I showed that he came back to San Francisco in 1955 when they started up the operations, and Jack came back from Japan in 1955. At least that was my notes. And yes, he was in New York before then.
That's Harriet's worksheet on the right, by the way, too. That's your worksheet.
It is. All right, you guys, we are at 10:50. That is the end. Thank you guys so much. This was a wonderful show. Thank you, Harriette, for all your solves. I think everything is making sense. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back with you next Friday with more. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.